Auckland, New Zealand, Nine's Wide World of Sports proudly presents the 14th Commonwealth Games.
Welcome back live to Auckland, Australia, and we're set to start the women's 10,000 metre walk, Kerry Saxby's big day. And Wally Foreman, they're off.
Yes, we've made it just in time, Ray, as Kerry Saxby sets out in her quest for gold here in Auckland in the women's 10-kilometre road race. The course is along the waterfront at Devonport, which is a harbourside suburb on the north side of the harbour. It's directly opposite the city of Auckland, and this course, in fact, is directly opposite the marathon course, the course that was used for both the men's and women's marathon just a couple of days ago. And it's been a good morning for Australia, perhaps a surprise morning to some extent, with Andrew Jackno taking the silver medal in the men's 30-kilometre road walk, and his was a very courageous performance. He took that event up to the rest of the field from the outset. He led for two-thirds of the race and then hung on grimly to claim the silver medal, while his more illustrious teammate Simon Baker, who was perhaps favoured to win gold in that event, had to be content with placing well down in the field, probably about 9th or 10th. We haven't had that confirmed as yet, but I believe that Baker may have in fact been carrying some sort of an injury or an illness. But already in the very early stages, Ray, we see Kerry Saxby, who holds the fastest time on record for this event for anyone in the world, out in front and setting the pace with her two teammates, Lorraine Jackno, the wife of Andrew, who did so well in the men's event, and Bev Hayman, just behind the leading bunch at this stage.
Peter Hatfield, I guess if there was anyone who was considered a certainty to win gold medal at these Auckland Games from any country, it would be Kerry Saxby.
Yes, it would have to be Kerry, Ray. But I spoke to her in the village 2 days ago, and she was very uptight, very apprehensive. And in fact, team management was, they were a little worried. She was really unsettled and a bit perturbed that she had heard rumours from some of the other competitors. I thought that the race judges or the walk judges were going to really target her. It'll be interesting to see whether Kerry just walks to win or whether she goes for a world record, and it appears that every time she sets foot on the road or on the track that there's an expectation of a world record. She has broken over 20 world records from 1,500 metres right through to 20 kilometres, and she looks as though that she's really going to put it out and put in a big effort here.
All right, let's have a look at the competitors in this. Ellicott from England, Peel from Canada, Judkins from New Zealand, McCaffrey from Canada, Saxby, as we said, from Australia, Hayman from Australia, Jackson from New Zealand, Jackno from Australia, Langford from England, Swarovski from England, and Alison Baker from Canada. That makes up a field of 11 in this. And you two gentlemen watched the race this morning, or the walk this morning. Do you think the judges were tough on the men?
No, I don't think they were tough at all, Ray, from what we saw. In fact, very early in that race, we saw some slow motion vision of one of the English competitors, and I thought he was very lucky not to have been given a warning very early in the race. In fact, it's difficult to know how many warnings were issued. We only saw one in the coverage that was actually presented to us, and that was actually issued against the winner, LeBlanc, during the mid-stages.
It is an event, though, in which disqualifications are fairly common.
It's a very subjective judging too. It's a bit like an LBW rule in cricket. It's only in the eye of the beholder, and it's very important. And I suppose we should explain the rules, is that they must keep contact with the ground at all times, so that once their foot at the back comes up, they must place then the foot at the front going down. So it must be a heel-toe action, and as well as that, they must have a straightening of the knee at some stage through the walking gait. So the most important part is keeping contact with the ground, and normally that is the reason given for a caution. And they must have 3 warnings before they're disqualified, and those 3 warnings must come from 3 separate judges. So it's a fairly difficult way of being disqualified. It does take quite a few discretions through the race, And as you can see there, they're just walking so quickly. You even see from this low shot here of Kerry Saxby, very difficult to tell whether they are making contact or not. And it's not until you see a slow motion replay that you're able to just judge how far or how high they are off the ground.
They call the event slow motion agony, but as you point out, it really has to be slow motion cameras to see what their feet are doing.
Just differentiating between the other two Australian girls there for the benefit of our viewers, Ray. Bev Hayman is the girl with the sunshade. That's her in the foreground at the moment. And Lorraine Jacknow is just tacking onto the pack that is pursuing Kerry Saxby. Bev Hayman is ranked 9th in the Commonwealth, and Lorraine Jacknow is ranked 4 in the Commonwealth in this event. And it's interesting to note perhaps that Lorraine Jacknow in the past has had difficulty with warm and humid conditions, and they're the conditions that are prevailing here this morning. At the start of the men's event, it was cool and cloudy. There was some overnight rain, and it was almost drizzling at the time of the start. But by the time that race had finished, remembering that it took just over 2 hours to complete, by the time it had finished, the cloud had lifted, and we had the bright sunshine prevailing that we've got now. And it's got quite warm outside in Auckland, and that might be something that will count against Lorraine Jacknow. I hope not, but there was an event back in '87 in the World Championships in Rome when she collapsed with just 50 metres to go. So it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on as far as her chances are concerned.
On the other hand, of course, 27-year-old Kerry Saxby comes out of Ballina in New South Wales. She is used to humid conditions and hot weather, so she's not going to be affected by that, one would think.
No, one would assume not. And she's a very experienced walker now, and she's walked in a variety of competitions and climatic conditions around the world. Interestingly enough, she hasn't won a major outdoor title. She's won a world indoor title, but as yet hasn't won a major outdoor title. She set, as Peter indicated, more than 20 world bests from 1,500 metres through to 20 kilometres. She won the world 5 kilometre indoor title in 1989, but she was second in the World Cup at 10 kilometres and second in the World Championships in '87 at the same distance. So this is an important event for Kerry. She's expected to win, but it would also be a major championship gold medal for her outdoors, which is something that has eluded her to some extent.
And the 10,000 Ks is the world record that she doesn't have. She's been chasing that for some time, although they don't. How are world records established in this, Peter?
Much
like marathons?
Well, that's right. There's not a set course. You can see there's a variation in the courses around the world. Sometimes there are a few hills, though they always attempt to make the course as flat as possible, and it is a very flat course. One of the things that will go against her, you can notice here, and they're getting a close-up of the road, it's very rough surface, and that causes two problems for the walkers. One, there's a great deal of friction with the soles of their shoes, and that tends to slow them down, and also makes it difficult to maintain a legal walking action. And the other thing is, because the surface is so rough, it does apply a lot of extra pressure on their legs. And I used the analogy in the men's walk, it's a bit like a car suspension, and the rougher the road, the harder the suspension has to work, and that really does take a lot out of their ankles, hips, knees, and of course their quadriceps and hamstrings. And we saw that Andrew Jacknow really seized up quite badly. You could see in a close-up shot that we did in the walk earlier this morning that he had a cramp in the back of his hamstring that was as big as a cricket ball. He had to stop and stretch that out, and this rough road surface is going to make it hard work for the girls here. And you can see there just in a close-up how rough that road surface is.
Yes, I like that quote that someone made about walkers, saying walkers are a little like people who bash their heads against brick walls. They do it because it feels so good when they stop. And certainly with Jacknow this morning, it looks much better once he'd stopped. She has, even to the untrained eye, she seems to have a more comfortable style than Jacknow had.
Yes, I mean, Jacknow, it's difficult to tell. Jacknow looked very good early in the race, Ray, when he went out so quickly. And I think that told in the latter stages. He was very tired, and to the extent, as Peter has already indicated, that there was a dramatic moment within 2 kilometres of the finish when he cramped and had to stop and actually stretch it out. So what we saw in the latter stages was probably not the true Andrew Jacknow style, but there's no doubt that Kerry Saxby has a very efficient style, otherwise she wouldn't be returning the times that she does, remembering that she holds the world record on the track for this distance and the best on record for the road walk over the same distance. Just
And it looks like there that Kerry Saxby got a walk. You can see the judge in the white hat in the background just behind the motorbike. He came out and produced the white sign, which means that she's had one caution. And I guess that would be a little perturbing. And when they've just done, a couple of minutes, you can see there, very close shot. It's very difficult to tell whether she is maintaining contact. And Kerry Saxby, as I said, was very worried coming into this race as to how tough the judges were going to be on her. She's a bit of a marked woman, but that's one caution already.
Wow. Well, this would be a real sensation for the games and for Kerry Saxby. As you said, 20 up to 25. Some people count 25 world records that she's had, but she has been saying in Australia that she figured that the officials are out to get her. In terms of style, she's managed to not be disqualified elsewhere in the world, and here she is now in New Zealand in this most important title for her, having had one warning, it seemed like.
I don't think she's got any option now, Ray, but to walk more conservatively. She just can't afford to risk a gold medal simply for the sake of going fast. She only needs to do enough to win. As they say, time only counts when you're in jail, and when you're walking for gold medals, it's much more important, or the result is much more important than your time. And she's about halfway back along the waterfront now. Just a little bit about this course. It's very, very flat, but once again could easily have been chosen by the New Zealand Tourist Commission, I would suggest. It's a very picturesque course. The suburb of Devonport itself is a very old but very quaint harbourside suburb. In its earlier days, it was a very important link with the main city through the ferries, but then when the Auckland Bridge was open, I think in the mid-1950s, the ferries became less important, and to some extent the suburb of Devonport has almost become secluded. But it's a beautiful setting and a very, very flat course, so it probably would have been in Kerry Saxby's mind that she had the opportunity here to not only to win a gold medal but to go very fast.
We notice as well lots of sailors around the track. There is a naval base there. You can see sailors on the right now. It's a naval base there at Devonport. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have a look at Kerry Saxby's walk in a moment. Live to Auckland and these 14th Commonwealth Games. Day 10 we're in, and we're now in the event which is the 10,000 kilometre women's walk with Australia's Kerry Saxby in front. And Wally, can you run through the other list?
Yes, Kerry's about 1/3 of the way through the event at the moment, Ray. They've just gone through she's just gone through the 3 kilometre mark, and that group there, which includes McCaffrey from Canada, she's ranked number 2 in the Commonwealth. Swarovski, Judkins, Peel, Lorraine Jackno from Australia there, and Baker from England. They comprise the group that are out in pursuit, but they're a long way back already, and barring any disqualification or any physical mishap to Kerry Saxby, she has the gold medal well and truly within her grasp already. That number 816 is Jackson from New Zealand, and she's just making the turn at Victoria Road in the centre of the Devonport township.
We should make the point that these pictures are coming from an international pool coverage, not even from TV New Zealand. So the deal with this was that they would show runners from all around the Commonwealth, or walkers from all around the Commonwealth. In this case, I've got to watch my words here, because certainly the concentration with those cameras has been on the feet of Kerry Saxby especially, and we think that she had one warning from judges, and as Peter mentioned a moment ago, 3 warnings and you are disqualified.
One interesting point there, she had 19 seconds after 3 kilometres, so...
What the split?
Yeah, at the 3K split, so Kerry Saxby well in front. And as we saw, I think that it's a bit marginal as to whether they are in contact with that slow motion camera.
Can we talk about that then, Wally? Because quite clearly we're being told by our experts here that if you put a slow motion camera on any walkers, any speed walkers, and slow it down, it appears as though they're all running.
Sure does.
Sure does. No. Well, let's go a little further and make the point that in all the walks that she's competed in around the world, she's only been scrubbed out once.
Certainly, in regards to Kerry Saxby, she's only been disqualified once, and that was in the 1987 World Indoor Championships, which were held in Indianapolis. And I think it's very tough if judges are starting to isolate the leading competitors for any particular reason, simply because they're better than the others. They've all got to be viewed objectively effectively and equally, I would have thought, and that would be really tough. But Kerry Saxby would have this situation under control. She's very familiar with the pressures that she's under, and she knows already that she's got, in terms of ability, she's got a huge advantage over the rest of this field. She doesn't have to do anything silly. She doesn't have to go at a rapid rate. She only has to go fast enough to win it. And as we said at the time that she received that warning fairly early in the race, I think she would have pulled back a little bit, started to walk perhaps a little bit more conservatively, concentrate that little bit harder, and I'm sure that she'll be safe for the rest of the race.
All right, that's Lisa Langford from England, but talking about Kerry Saxby, her world records don't seem to last 5 minutes. That's because she keeps improving on them. Let's have a look. Karen Pratt has got a report, a profile on Karen Saxby.
Another AMP Athlete Profile. You're right with AMP Super.
Our world champion walker lives and trains at the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra, earning a living giving tours of the facility.
I'm a track and field athlete, a race walker here, so if I walk too fast, just tell me.
This is home away from home. The real thing is Ballina on the north coast of New South Wales, where she heads to recharge her batteries every now and then.
Hi, Kerry. Hi, how are you? It's good.
Still training hard?
Oh, trying to, getting back into it.
Good work, anyhow.
Okay, thanks.
A break there is no holiday though, with gruelling runs along the beaches, walk training throughout the streets, and spending time with her sporting family.
20 degrees.
Kerry's brother Justin is a junior golf champion, a talent that, as you can see, doesn't run in the family.
Oh, you can't be a loser. This is going on telly.
I think I might stick to walking.
There's not much hope for you in golf.
I can just play it for recreation, just enjoyment. I'm not going to be competitive with golf.
I'm glad you can enjoy what you just did.
She won't worry about swinging the clubs, sticking to swinging those winning hips with the style and determination that's nabbed her an incredible 19 world records, even more world bests.
I seem to think when I do a race, I'd rather finish and be tired instead of saying, geez, I really should have pushed myself a little harder. I'd rather say, oh, well, I couldn't have gone any harder. That's how I go about all my races.
It's that attitude and her proven ability that make Kerry one of the athletes to watch at the Games. This is the first time the event has been on the program, a forerunner to the Olympics in 1992. Even with all her world records, there's still plenty for Kerry Saxby to walk for.
I'm very happy with the rewards. I've got 2 gold medals out of it, one in the Commonwealth Games, one in the World Indoors. I've got 2 silvers, one in the World Championships, another one in the World Walking Cup. I'd be very happy if I can pull off a gold in the Commonwealth Games and go on and I've got another World Walking Cup, another World Championship, another World Indoors and the Olympics, and even be placed in those next events. It'd be very good to have all those medals sitting there.
Kerry Saxby, at 27, from Ballina, and Australia's champion walker. Talking about champion walkers, we've been joined here by Simon Baker, who was the Australia's world champion, who didn't have such a good day today.
Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment, Ray. Just a couple of things went wrong at the last moment. I was having a bit of trouble with my hamstring over the last week or so, and we were getting terrific help from the physiotherapists in the village, from the Australian physios and masseurs and everything, but it was sort of like getting a knife stuck in your leg every time I strode from about 500 metres right through to the finish. And then yesterday, to top it all off, I got a flu.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'll move away from it. But you came home strongly. I thought at one stage I heard the New Zealand commentators this morning, I heard them saying they thought you dropped out. You didn't think of dropping out.
Yeah, I was thinking of dropping out. I was thinking of not starting the race, actually. And I was just too stubborn. I just wanted to stubborn it out and get through to the finish.
Well, you just walked this course 3 times, in fact, 3 times more than Kerry's going to have to do. Tell us about the course itself.
Well, it's a bit hard to tell just straight from the TV, but it's quite a rough course. It's a fairly harsh gravel surface for just about the whole way, and there's bits of it there where there's ruts and that sort of thing, and there's manhole covers that stand a bit above the surface, so you're never quite sure where the road surface is, and as walkers need to keep their feet on the ground as part of the rules, it makes it very hard just to know where your feet are during the race.
We've had some slow motion shots there of Kerry's feet. It looked as though both feet were off the ground. We're talking about rules, but I understand that that's pretty common with most walkers if you slow motion any walker.
Well, I don't know about that, but of course the judges rely on the human eye, and it's not possible to put videotape on every single competitor in every race for the whole length of the race. So it still becomes it's up to the human eye to judge. And people are, if the road surface is a bit rough, as I said, you can't always rely on keeping contact. So I mean, every now and then there's a chance of losing contact. I'm not going to say that everyone gets caught off the ground. It just goes with the sport. Everyone's trying to go as fast as they can.
All right, let's pick up Karen Pratt, who's at the finish line at this particular stage.
Thanks a lot, Ray. Kerry Saxby has been going for 22 minutes and 16 seconds now, over the halfway mark, and she is looking incredibly strong. She's opened up a big break on the Canadians who are leading the second bunch, and here she goes by. Kerry is just so determined. She's really on a roll here. There she goes. The crowd are really cheering her on, and the others aren't even in sight yet.
Thanks,
Kerry Saxby, unless something goes wrong, she'll be there.
All right, there we have a good crowd down there. Were you conscious of the crowd this morning?
Oh, the crowd was fantastic. Everyone was cheering us on. It didn't matter really where you were in the field. They were all giving us a lot of encouragement. It was a tremendous atmosphere. There's a really good crowd there. All the Kiwis were shouting out at us, and there's a lot of people from other parts of the Commonwealth, and they're all shouting.
I saw plenty of boxing kangaroo flags.
Oh, yeah, it was great. They just sort of wave them out in front of you, and you think, oh, great, I'll keep going. It really helps you get through the hard parts of the race. I know it's terrific for Andrew too, just to keep him going.
All right, our special guest here with us is Simon Baker, who walked this course this morning. We'll take a break and we'll come back with Kerry Saxby in a moment.
Kerry Saxby just short of the 6 kilometre mark in the women's 10 kilometre road walk, and she has a decisive break over the remainder of the field. She's about to walk into the centre of the suburb of Devonport. At that point she will turn and double back along the waterfront, and she'll have one full circuit and the waterfront to go, and she already seems to have a very strong grip on the gold medal in this first ever walk held in a Commonwealth Games. In second place is Janice McCaffrey from Canada. She's ranked number 2 in the Commonwealth, and she's giving a very good showing, a very good account of herself, but is a long way behind Kerry Saxby. And it's a fair break back then to the third place getter, who is Peel from Canada, as Kerry Saxby goes around in Victoria Road in the suburb of Devonport, and back she goes, and she'll get a good indication now as to just how far in front she is. And she really can afford to walk quite conservatively and not take any risks. Not that there's any danger of disqualification, but she would know now just how far in front, exactly how far in front she is of McCaffrey.
Yes, Wally, at the halfway mark at 5 kilometres, she was 28 seconds ahead, and she looks as though she's increased that lead now as they've just gone past the 6 kilometre mark.
Peel sorry, Ray, I was just going to say Peel of Canada in third place, Judkins from New Zealand is fourth, and then Swarovski from England is fifth, but the Canadians are up there in fourth. There are 3 Canadians in the first 6.
So there's the time difference. Sorry, Ray, 39 seconds.
Sorry about that. We got Simon Baker with us as well. I just wanted, looking at this yourself, we did see what we thought was a caution card. What are those white cards that the judges have?
Well, what happens in a walk is, there's 2 rules. One is that both one foot has to be on the ground at all times, and another rule that the leg must be straightened while it's on the ground. And there's judges on the course who are watching all the competitors to make sure that they're not infringing on those rules. And they give cautions if they feel that a competitor's in danger of breaking the rules, and then they give reports. Oh, someone's down.
Well, it's unfortunate. It's difficult to work out who it is.
Is it looks like English? Wilson?
I don't think we're going to be able to identify that
6
person.
Canadian or English look like, but I'm sure we'll...
If there's a 6 in it...
it is very stressful out there now. The sun's come out. It's probably the worst time of the day to be racing. It was very humid on the course this morning, and now with this full sun, it's going to be very intense.
Lan Judkins has improved her placing to third.
I wonder whether that was Anne Peel then from Canada, who we had in third place fairly comfortably at that stage.
Yes, it could have been. The other leading competitor with a 6 was 3.26 was Lisa Langford from England, but it's all just conjecture. Here's the race leader, Kerry Saxby.
She's hardly breathing at the moment.
She looks very comfortable, doesn't she?
Yeah, it's a training strong.
I saw a quote from you, Sam, which you were asked about why you walk. You said, because I can win. For some reason, my bones glue together the right way to walk.
Yeah, I started walking at Little Athletics when I was about 10 or 11, and I just found it was a natural technique that I could do well at, and I've stuck with it ever since.
Also, I think you had a quote where you said anybody can run, but you've got to learn to walk.
That's right. I mean, it's better than crawling around, and anyone can go out and run, but it's a very technical event, as you can see, and it's combined. There's a bit of a mental discipline just to keep from running sometimes.
Well, certainly Wally Foreman's been singing the praises of the walkers and the walkers style here this morning at the men's events.
Yes, it was a magnificent performance this morning from Andrew Jacknow in particular. I thought he showed great courage, Simon, didn't he, to take it out as he did.
Well, he went right from the start. It was a tremendous...
He put it on the line,
yeah.
and then he had to hang on when LeBlanc was coming over the top of him. That must have been a very tough psychological moment for him when he was joined out in front.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that much of the race, but every time they came past, I was really aware of, firstly, how hard Andrew had taken it out, but then Guillaume just bit by bit taking him up, just picking him up. And I was concerned, just over the last 4K of sprint. I know Guillaume's incredibly fast.
I imagine the important psychological tactic for Andrew at that point would have been to have still been focusing on winning the event rather than worrying about finishing second or third. If he'd worried too much about that, he could easily have lost contact.
Exactly, yeah. It's an event where you have to stay very concentrated, very focused on what you're doing at all times.
Even though we talk about Kerry Saxby being a record buster, it seems, every time she goes out, you made the point at the break that you don't worry about times in a race like this.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, it's much more important to look at this last lap. Fantastic, 3K to go.
Okay, we figure she's 30 seconds plus in front of the second place period right now. We'll take a break on that bell lap and come back.
Walk tall. Walk tall. Walk straight and look.
Live back in Auckland for the final stages of the women's 10,000 kilometre walk with about 3K to go, and Kerry Saxby from Australia well in front of Janice McCaffrey, who's struggling from Canada, and Judkins from New Zealand, with another Australian, Wally, looking a promise.
Yes, Lorraine Jacknow is doing a great job here. She's moving up on Peel of Canada, and the way that McCaffrey is struggling in second place, I think Jacknow is some sort of a chance to claim a medal here, and wouldn't that be a fantastic double for the Jacknow family, remembering that husband Andrew took the silver medal in the men's walk earlier today. And Lorraine Jacknow is walking, she's under some stress, that's obvious, but she looks a lot more comfortable than a couple of those in front of her, including the walker that she's about to pass, and certainly she looks a lot stronger than Janice McCaffrey, the Canadian who's in second place, or was a short time ago. Judkins from New Zealand was closing on her, but Jacknow has injected a little bit of interest into this struggle for the lesser medals, because Kerry Saxby's got the gold well and truly in her keeping.
Yes, and Kerry Saxby's training routine, Simon, she said she does about 130 or 140 kilometres a week, plus a number of weightlifting sessions, but about 45% of that distance she actually does in running sessions. Is that normal? Or?
Well, nearly every morning she'll go out for a run, and then in the afternoon she'll usually do a walking session. It is a bit unusual for walkers, because running isn't really suitable for walkers. It doesn't improve the technique at all, but she finds it very good for just recovery. She usually just runs at a fairly easy pace for about 5 to 10k, and it is really a good recovery exercise.
Kerry was an outstanding junior middle distance runner too, wasn't she?
Oh yeah, she was New South Wales champion. She's also New South Wales surfing champion, I think, a couple of times.
Karen Pratt is on the course. Pick it up, Karen.
Thanks, Ray. Kerry Saxby has got a minute over her nearest rival, and the frightening thing is she's not even going for a fast time. Kerry is just racing for that gold medal. She's still looking fantastic, and I think she's got it well within her grasp. I hope Lorraine Jacknow can get up and get that medal too.
Well, Kerry's just completed her final loop of the Devonport domain, and she's back on the waterfront. She's got to go up and back the waterfront, so she's got less than 2 kilometres to walk now. When she makes the turn in the township of Devonport, she'll have about 1 kilometre to walk back to the finish line. She's in fact just past the finish line on the other side of the road. So Kerry Saxby is performing, I guess, as we'd expected, but it's too easy to take things for granted at this level, and her performance once again has been an outstanding one, and it can be said that it's another world-class performance from Kerry Saxby, and she'll be looking for this, she'll be desperate for this medal, I would think, Simon, because there's not too many major outdoor championship medals on her mantelpiece at the moment, just something that's eluded her to some extent at the top. She's got a world indoor title to her record, of course, but she'll be desperate, I'm sure, to win the inaugural walking event in the Commonwealth Games. This is the second place competitor, and you can see that McCaffrey seems to be in some difficulty, but she's looked like that for the last kilometre or so. She's been all over the road, but she's determined. She's showing great courage, and she's hanging on in second place. I would have anticipated that by now Judkins of New Zealand, who was walking third, would have in fact caught her, but that has not been the case. If Judkins is third, then that would mean, I would think, that Lorraine Jackno is still in fourth place. Yes, here's Judkins now, the New Zealander. She won the New Zealand trial, and she's not making any noticeable impression on McCaffrey. She doesn't appear to be getting any closer, even though she looks a little more composed, although her stride has shortened a little bit too, I suspect. And now we're looking for Lorraine Jackno, who was fourth just a couple of minutes ago. But McCaffrey, in fact, seems to have found a little extra, and maybe it's just a rather erratic style, Simon. I don't know, but she looks a lot better now than she did a few minutes ago.
I think what we're seeing is just that the effects of the weather conditions on the competitors. They've gone out, some of them, particularly Janice, I think, has gone out very hard, and it is really starting to tell on them. Whereas Lorraine's gone out a bit more conservatively, and she's starting to come through the field.
1 minute 25 seconds is the gap between first and second, with Kerry Saxby in front, with 1.5 k's to go. That looks nice.
I think it's pretty much home and hose now, Ray. Particularly with the way Janice is, she is looking like she's struggling a bit.
Well, we commented earlier in the piece that if there was one athlete in the field, particularly amongst the Australians that would have difficulty with these types of weather conditions, it would perhaps be Lorraine Jackno, remembering the difficulties she encountered in the World Championships in Rome in 1987 when she just failed to complete the course. But she's standing up to these conditions well, although it would seem at this stage that she's got a very big gap to make up if she's to claim a medal.
But then again, there's always a chance, of a disqualification. I mean, it's always there, I guess. But yeah, Lorraine did have a lot of trouble with the high humidity and the temperature in Rome that time, and she dehydrated in less than 3 kilometres.
Tell us briefly about disqualification then, Simon. I mean, can this occur even if they haven't been warned during the event?
Oh yeah, certainly. If a judge thinks that the competitor is infringing the rules, they don't have to give a caution at all. Usually it's just a bit of, it's just a courtesy that a judge will disqualify, will give a caution.
Very interesting struggle now, Ray, for second place.
I think Anne's got Janice.
Yes, the fight for the silver medal is on in earnest now, as Anne Judkins from New Zealand has closed the gap noticeably on Janice McCaffrey from Canada. Judkins, a 25-year-old trainee intern from Takapuna. She won the New Zealand trials, as we've mentioned. Janice McCaffrey from Calgary was 11th in the 1989 World Cup, and she also competed in the 87 World Championship. She was ranked number 2 in the Commonwealth coming into this event, as Judkins goes past her now, and Judkins would appear to have a strong grip on the silver medal. But if McCaffrey is struggling, then perhaps there is still time left in this race for Lorraine Jackno to make up valuable ground and perhaps claim the bronze. Here's Kerry Saxby. She's about to make the turn in Victoria Road in the centre of Devonport, and that means that she's got 1 kilometre to go back to the finish. 9 kilometres behind her now in the women's 10-kilometre road walk, the first walking event that's ever been held in the Commonwealth Games for women. And Kerry Saxby has a mortgage on this gold medal. It would take an unbelievable disaster now for her to lose that. And this is McCaffrey, who's back in third place. and really is labouring. If we could just get a shot of Lorraine Jackno, it would give us some indication as to whether or not the Australian has any chance of making up the deficit that she's enduring at the moment and claiming the bronze medal.
Simon, tell us about hitting the wall, walkers hitting the wall.
Yeah, it's not a pretty sight. It does become very hard. It's similar to the marathon runners. You run out of energy and you just think, what's going wrong? You get dizzy and lose all sorts of control. When you hit the wall, because it's so important with walking to keep a good rhythm going, and if you can't keep that rhythm, it just becomes a plod.
Well, Lorraine Jackno would be inspired, I would think, if that's the right word, by Janice McCaffrey. She would have her in her sights. She'd be preying on her. It's just a matter of whether or not there is enough distance left in this race for her to make it up. This is Judkins from New Zealand, and Judkins, who's in second place at the moment. Now, we saw McCaffrey, and Jackno, I think, is just about to come around the trees. Is that Jackno?
No,
it's not.
Lisa Langford.
It looks like Lisa Langford from England.
And
so
Lorraine's just behind her now.
So perhaps Lorraine Jackno has a very big task in front of her now if she's to claim the bronze medal, with Langford slipping past her and out in pursuit of McCaffrey.
Anne's walking very well now. I think she'll be able to keep going, but I'm concerned about Janice.
Simon, at the latter stages of the race here, do they get knocked about aerobically, or is it just a fatigue of the muscles that really start to hurt?
Well, now you just have a 1K sprint, and it really becomes a very hard aerobic event. You just all you do is you breathe, and you're just gasping for air.
She's barely able to maintain control.
Yeah, and very close together, those.
It would be a remarkable performance, Simon, for her to hang on and claim a bronze medal. It'd be a courageous performance. Here's Lorraine Jackno now. She's about to go around. She looks a lot more comfortable than one or two in front of her. If she can just maintain the pressure.
She just needs to pull out a little bit of the hill training we used to do in Mount Stromlo.
Was 1K enough time to do that?
You can do a lot in the K. It's about 4.5 minutes of flat out. You know, when you see the finish line, you just want to go for it. I think Kerry just about see the finish line right now.
So at the last kilometre to go, Kerry Saxby was 1 minute 49 in front. So a big margin there as she's strolling in. And she's in big trouble at the moment.
She's slowing noticeably too, and it's going to be a superhuman effort for McCaffrey if she can just complete the course.
Yeah.
Yes, Lisa Langford from England has gone past into third place. This is Anne Judkins from New Zealand, who is walking second at the moment. Langford from England is in third place. That's Bev Hayman from Australia, who's just gone around. And then we go back to Lorraine Jackno, who I think also has just passed to McCaffrey. So Lorraine Jackno has acquitted herself very, very well here this morning. And she's got a lot to do in the last 600 or 700 metres if she's to steal the bronze medal from Lisa Langford from England. But what an outstanding performance by the young New Zealander. She's in second place, and what a brilliant performance by this lady, Kerry Saxby, Australia's multiple world record holder.
2 minutes, if she finishes almost 2 minutes in front of the second place getter, Simon, in an international event like this, is quite an extraordinary performance, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's a fantastic effort.
Well, she's coming down to the finish line now, and Kerry Saxby from Australia is about to claim the first ever walking gold medal that has been contested in the Commonwealth Games. An outstanding performance in trying conditions on a very rough course by Kerry Saxby of Australia, and it's another gold medal to Australia as Kerry Saxby crosses the finish line in a time of 45 minutes, 3.2 seconds. She won't be in the least bit interested in that time, I'm sure. Her sole goal was to win gold, and she's come to Auckland and done that, and she's done it in very convincing fashion, showing once again that she is one of the finest walkers in the world on both the road and the track, and she gets a congratulatory kiss there from her coach, Craig Hilliard. And here's the second place getter. This is Anne Judkins from New Zealand at 25-year-old trainee intern. She won the New Zealand trial. She's still got a fair way to go. She's just gone past the Masonic Tavern, which is about halfway down the waterfront, but doing very well. So let's go across now to Karen Pratt, who's talking with the winner.
Kerry, it's a piece of history.
For sure. First of all, before I start, I've got to say hello to my father and my brother that's sitting at Ballina High School, Channel 9 watching, and also my boyfriend Ray back home, and his sister and her husband up in Brisbane as well, Sharon and Gary.
Now that you've got all of those wonderful Cheerios over, how about the race?
Well, I'm pleased it's over, actually. Yes, I'm very happy it's over. Just had to hang around for about 2 weeks and wait, but other than that, I'm quite happy now. I can go out and celebrate New Year's Eve that I missed out on this year.
What else are you going to do?
I believe Bob's coming, Bob Hawke, so I hope to shake his hand.
What about the time you did? Were you going for the time or
No, medal, mate. Doesn't matter about times.
Well, you got that medal now, and it's something to remember forever. Thanks, Kerry.
Thanks, Karen, very much indeed. All right, going for the medal, mate. That's what I was doing. I was going for the medal.
Very relaxed and informal lady, isn't she?
She's terrific.
But a great champion, a great Australian champion, and this performance will be greeted with great enthusiasm by the pro-New Zealand crowd that has gathered at the finish. This is Anne Judkins from New Zealand, who crosses the line now to take the silver medal.
2 minutes behind, just over 2 minutes behind. That was the margin.
And the third place getter, or the athlete in third place at the moment, is Lisa Langford from England, and just behind her, Lorraine Jackno from Australia. A great effort by Lorraine, but she just couldn't do enough to catch Lisa Langford, who claims the bronze medal in a time of 47 minutes 23 seconds. And there you can see the effect that these conditions and this road have had on the competitors as Langford collapses, and now Lorraine Jackno crosses the line in fourth place, and that is a notable double to the Jackno family, despite the fact that Lorraine has just missed out on a medal. She has performed admirably here just an hour or so after her husband Andrew had claimed the silver medal in the men's.
All right, there you have it then, another gold medal for Australia, making it 45. Andrew Lloyd's got to be confirmed, and that would be 46 gold medals for Australia so far. We've got a big day coming up. Our thanks to Simon Baker, Australian world champion, who walked this morning and is kind enough to come in and give us his expertise on this particular event. Thank you for that. And,
thanks, Ray.
Terrific, mate. Good to we'll call this one across the line, Wally, but we've got a big day in events coming up as well, Peter, today, with the prospect of gold and just big events.
There should be some great events as the track, and here comes McCaffrey. What a gutsy performance for her to make it to the finish.
Oh, yes, she was so prominent for most of the race, and then in the last 2 kilometres or so, perhaps the last lap, really, the last circuit, 3 kilometres out, she was in all sorts of trouble, and it's been a very courageous performance by Janice McCaffrey of Canada to just make it to the finish line. And another good performance here from Bev Hayman of Australia. She is about to cross the line in 6th place, and a good performance overall by the 3 Australians.
All right, yes indeed. 1st, 4th and 6th for those 3 Australians, which is good for Australian walking. And
congratulations, Kerry. This is, you were so premeditated about this one. You were just going for gold, no records. This was business.
Yes, all I needed to do was to get out there and actually win. And I did that quite well.
Yeah, well, there was no pressure on you whatsoever. I mean, do you like pressure?
Well, there was quite a bit of pressure on me. I've been pretty keyed up for this event. I think I always put pressure on myself, but knowing when you're going into something, you think you're going to win pretty easily, it seems to be worse, because I feel I've got no competition, and of course it's going to be hard. I think along with Lisa Martin, we've just got to have our tactics there from the start.
Peter, it was a wonderful effort. It was so dominant right from the very start, wasn't it? And you could see even when Kerry got to the front, there was never any question what was going to happen.
You seemed to go out very hard, and I think we noticed early on in the race there was an official that gave you a slight caution. Did you slow up because of that, or did you just dismiss that caution altogether?
Well, what you've got to do, I think the cautions are given to you in a way is to let you know, the judge is looking at your style, which, if I get a caution, first thing I think about is just my technique, and that's what I've got to really tune into. And I seem to think that, I seem to go along with that quite well, but that always happens in walks. You could probably pick up 20 or even 50 cautions in a race and may not even get a report. That's only just to let you know that you're slightly, getting close to infringing the rules.
Kerry,
it doesn't actually mean that, you know, you are infringing the rules. And that's, I think, the thing with walking. Look, you can get a caution and it may mean nothing. And you're thinking to yourself, well, is it a report or is it not one? So,
Kerry, you're not the only one who got cautions today. There was quite a number of other girls who did get cautions. But your style is so smooth, it's so fluid. It is just stands out amongst the field, and therefore you just know you're going to come in for extra attention. I think that's just common sense, isn't it?
for sure. Well, of course, I've been going ahead and breaking all these times, you know, doing very well on the world circuit. And I had a very unfortunate experience back there in 1987, which, you know, still runs in my mind, that Black Friday back in March where I was disqualified in the World Indoor Championships. Ever since that disqualification, I've really done a lot of work with my technique. The idea is in a walk, I want to get out there and I want to look as fluent and as safe as possible. Never in my life do I ever want to try and break the rules. And people that don't understand a lot about walking, you know, seem to think, oh, she's trying to cheat. Well, never in my life would I ever try and cheat. I try to do the best thing for my sport. And that's why I'm slowly developing, you know, one of the best techniques, hopefully, in the world.
It was a very rough road surface out there. Was it difficult to walk in those conditions?
It was very, very difficult. I really felt sorry for Simon Baker, who had a niggling kind of hamstring problem. If you did have any slight problems with your hamstrings or anything, you do feel it on very rough courses. Unfortunately, Anne Poole badly strained her hamstring in the middle of the race. And it was very, very bouncy, and I felt really... I just didn't feel smooth on the surface, and there was nothing I can do. Whereas I do a lot of my technique work on the track and things, and going from the track and going to a surface like this feels, you know, just a little bit different. I don't like rough surfaces at all, and it doesn't do very much, really, for the walking style. I mean, there, I think I almost had one of the smoothest walking days ever in my career, and, you know, you can see patches where you're feeling bouncy, and that's really the road surface.
All right, you ran the race mid-morning.
Walked, sorry.
Walked, yes. I've got to be careful when talking about technique. In the fair bit of heat, and 6 girls are in hospital tonight. They're all suffering from exhaustion, I would imagine, and a couple of injuries. But should you be running that time of the day, walking this time of the day?
Well, I think after today's, what happened with those competitors today is they are holding women's events, like in most races, around 12 and 1 o'clock. And I mean, that was 11:15. The humidity and the heat out there was probably equivalent to some of the races I've had in Brisbane. I mean, that's pretty horrific in the middle of summer. I did find it hot and I did find it humid. It didn't, of course, slow me down. Those girls that have come from -30, they have been over here acclimatising, but unfortunately, they're not used to our conditions. And I seem to think that with long-distance events, we really have to have a fight to get them on early in the day. If I had a choice, I'd love to be doing it in the cool. Unfortunately, in Australia, we don't get that choice. We get all our events on in midday, which forces me to go home and do high humidity training in my hometown in Ballina over 6 weeks, usually over Christmas. And usually when I finish that block of training, I'm absolutely tired. And I go out there at 11 o'clock in the middle of summer, and it's hot. I don't like it at all. I feel happy when I've finished it, but I have to condition myself only because I've got to race so many races in the heat.
Yeah.
One feature of your training, you do a lot of running, and that's not normal for a walker. Why do you do so much slow running in an afternoon session?
I used to be a runner a couple of years ago. I'm more or less doing running for enjoyment. If I do 2 walking sessions a day, I'm suffering a few niggling injuries as it is walking once. The second running session more or less gives my shins a bit of a recovery. I'm using my calf muscles when I run, so that just recovers my shins. And also, it's an aerobic exercise, which helps a lot more, because my second walking session, I'd be probably walking too slow for aerobic benefits, so that's why I tend to want to mix it around.
All right, we've got to wind up. You're all dressed to kill. You're going out joining the family, but you have some friends and family up at Ballina that you'd like to say hello to?
I'd like to say hello to my father and my brother who were watching me, unfortunately, at school today. I had to still run school up there, and also my boyfriend back in Canberra, Ray, who's at work at the moment. He won't be able to see me live. And also my sister in Brisbane and her husband. And I have the rest of my family. I have Donna and Craig and Mum and my nana over here watching me today. Plus I had a couple of my brother and sister's friends.
Well, they'll be tickled pink tonight. There's a bit of a downpour up in the north of New South Wales right now.
Oh, I wouldn't have known. It doesn't rain very much up there.
Congratulations, Kerry. You've got the gold and you deserve it, and I hope there's much more success ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Kerry.
Right.
Right after the break, we're back with boxing.